everyone, my name is Melissa from Inspire Me ASAP. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how I use metacognition thinking stems as a way to teach that reading is thinking. Now that you have successfully implemented reading workshop in your classroom, you are now ready to start teaching those content-based mini lessons to your students. Those content-based mini lessons are where you are going to explicitly demonstrate, model, and teach the Common Core state standards or whatever standards your district has already adopted. What I use to kick off this unit with my own students is a thinking hat that we created together. And the reason why we use this thinking hat is because it's just a fun way to show all of the different strategies that we're going to be learning about in this new unit. So for example, making connections, making inferences, predicting, different emotions as we're reading. These are all different strategies that I'm going to be teaching as a way to show my students that good readers think as they are reading. They think about what they are reading. They think as they are reading. The information that I'm going to be sharing with you for today's video comes directly from my Unit 2 Reader's Workshop resource. And I'm going to show you how I break down the different components of the mini lesson. The different components are the making the connection, the teaching point, the explicit instruction, guided practice, linking this mini lesson to their ongoing learning, to their independent reading, and then the closing or the sharing part. For this specific lesson, all about modeling metacognition, I first want to share that I teach this over the course of a week or at least a week. So even though you're noticing that I have my metacognition thinking stem anchor chart here with all of my different thinking stems, this is not something that I would teach in one day and then I am done. I would teach and model this strategy throughout the course of the week, focusing on different books, different genres, different authors, really a variety of different books, and really demonstrating and modeling to my students what it looks like to think about what we are reading. So for the purpose of today's video, I chose a favorite author and a favorite series of my students and myself, and it's the Mercy Watson series. We're currently obsessed with these in our classroom, so I thought it'd be a great book to use as an example to demonstrate or to model or to explicitly teach how I can think about what I am reading. Now, when I use this or when I teach this lesson to my students, I actually wear my thinking hat just as a fun way to really demonstrate that I'm putting my thinking hat on and I am going to use my reading strategies as I'm reading today. So the first thing that I would do is I would make that connection about what we are currently learning based on the previous lesson. So for example, this week we are continuing to focus on metacognition. Boys and girls, who can remind me what metacognition means? Once that part is done, I move directly into the explicit instruction, which is the heart of your mini lesson. And so in my explicit instruction, I am going to model what it looks like when I read. I am going to demonstrate while I'm reading a short passage of this book how I am thinking about what I am reading. So what I would do is literally just read out loud to my students 1 or 2 chapters. And as I'm reading, now I marked like a good spot where I'm really going to make sure that I have something that I'll be able to refer to on my thinking stem chart. I'm going to demonstrate what that would look like and sound like. So this would only take about a couple of minutes. Chapter 5. One Saturday, Mrs. Watson made a special lunch. After lunch, Mr. Watson and Mercy went outside. Everything happened just as it always did every Saturday on Deckawoo Drive. Boys and girls, I am wondering, is everything really gonna happen just as always? I'm wondering if some folly is going to happen. In Mercy Watson books, they always do. Oh, there we go. What folly, said Eugenia Lincoln. What nonsense. She paused. Eugenia waited for Baby to say, yes, sister, but Baby said nothing. Baby said nothing because Baby was not there. Uh-oh, I'm noticing that Eugenia is not happy, and I'm thinking that Baby is going to be in the car with Mr. Watson and Mercy. That is just a short way that you can demonstrate that explicit modeling of how using thinking stems can help you share what you are thinking as you're reading. In the next part of the mini lesson, I would then have my students do a turn and talk. So I might read one more chapter, and after this chapter, I might say, boys and girls, I want you to turn and talk to your partner. What did you think about as I read this chapter out loud? And so they would turn and talk with their partner because they already know how to do this. This is one of the mini lessons I already taught them. And they would pick one of the thinking stems that they were thinking about that demonstrates what they were thinking about when I read aloud, maybe a couple of pages or a short chapter from this book. Once my students have shown me that they were able to do that in a guided practice, we are then ready to move on to the next part, which is the independent reading time or the differentiated work time. And that's where I would say to my students, you know what, boys and girls, now we are ready to begin our independent reading time. And as you're reading today, boys and girls, as you are reading today, I want you to pick your books from your book nook, and I want you to show me how the book that you are choosing to read today, you are going to think about what you are reading. And so you might tell the students that on this sticky note that I give you, I want you to write down one thing that you were thinking as you were reading your book today. So not necessarily they're going to write down something on the book that we read together, but they're going to pick a book from their own book nook and apply what I taught and write down one thing that they were thinking from the book in their book nook. You might also have them, in my class, we have readers' notebooks in my classroom. And so I might tell them, for example, boys and girls, in your reader's notebook, I want you to write down one thing that you were thinking as you were reading today. Boys and girls, don't forget you might want to use one of these thinking stems that I taught you in the mini lesson. We would then all come together and we would share at the end of the reading block for that day. We would share what they thought about as they were reading that day. So we would be back on the carpet together as a class, just like we were for the mini lesson. I would have them bring their sticky note, bring their reader's notebook, sit across from their partner and read to their partner what is the one thing that they were thinking as they were reading that day. I hope that you got some great ideas of how you can begin to teach your students about metacognition thinking strategies.